Well, greetings. Hello there, Alison McQuinn.
Hello there, Jeffrey Corranter. How are you?
I'm doing great. As you know, and I know, we are doing another open Q&A session. This is actually a continuation, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, was it? We did part one, and we had too many questions. We couldn't fit them all in, so we're just going to continue from where we left off.
Woohoo!
So let me know. I have all the questions queued up. And for anyone who's with us here live, you can, as always, submit a question. Just type it into the comment box wherever you're watching this. And if we do have time today, we'll be happy to keep going into any new questions, or otherwise we'll save them for the next one. So let me pop the first question. There's a little two-parter here. Do you think there is any other health treatment out there at the present time that can do what Heilkunst does? Can it be replaceable with a different modality? Well, Allison, I certainly have something to say about that, but what are your first impressions when you see that question?
Well, my first thought is that actually, no, there isn't. To resolve chronic disease in a way that you're not causing harm and you're doing it with clear, realizable, and repeatable results, I don't know of anything, which is why I went to just scads of different modalities when I actually needed to solve a chronic health issue with my son for the first time in my life. I had never been in that situation before. And so that was absolutely eye opening to me that actually, no, allopathic medicine was pretty useless. They, for chronic constipation and autism issues, just suggested putting them on a high fiber diet with lots of water. Woohoo! Yeah. And that got us quite a distance. Not. And so that's the thing. And then when I went to a whole slew of other supposedly naturopathic modalities, I thought I would find better resolution there, and it was just as bad or worse. So it was 3 people in 1 week said, try out this different kind of homeopathy at the Hahnemann College at Apple Hill Holistic Center in Ottawa. And I thought, oh, for the love of all things holy, what the hell? Seriously, I'd been everywhere else, every other modality of treatment. And so, yeah, when we went, I was just as skeptical as I was of every other one, and just throwing buckets of money at the issues. And I never expected this system of medicine to just systematically, with assuredness and in a very logical fashion, just resolve my son's issues outright. I was gobsmacked. And so I was like, how come everybody doesn't know about this?
I know. Why don't they? We've been at this how many years, and we're still reaching new people. I can't believe it.
Mhm.
But no, thank you for that, Alison. That's great. It's a beautiful story. Just a real, very real life account, and it's really how most of us start, right? We're just kind of bouncing from modality to modality, and oh, let's try this, let's try that, and my neighbor tried this, and it's like, okay, well, and one of your favorite phrases is, well, trial and error. Like, you can't forget the error part of the trial and error. Why are we trying things until we fail, until the point of failure? So yeah, so that's, as I say, it's just the typical human state of affairs. We're just, we don't know a whole lot. We're trying to figure stuff out. We try things, and okay, I understand that. I get that. But yeah, to really get to the heart of this question, and this is one of my big pet topics, if you want to call it that, is, and I guess I'll start by saying this, in the way that the person asked this question, is there any other health treatment out there that can do what Heilkunst does? And of course, you can see right here on the screen, there's our Heilkunst with a capital H, uppercase H. and of course that's there's a grammatical reason, right? In German, the nouns are capitalized, unlike in English where only the proper nouns are capitalized. Jeff, capital J, Allison, capital A, but then all the regular nouns are lowercase, but not in German. They're all uppercase. That's just a difference in grammar. But to the point of the question, I would make the first thing I do is I make a distinction between capital letter H Heilkunst and lower H Heilkunst. Excuse me. In other words, the distinction I make is between the usual thinking that people have, as we've already illustrated, is in terms of different modalities. Oh, what can acupuncture do? What can homeopathy do? What is, and it's just like, for people who like a lot of modalities, this is good. We have a lot of choice in the world, and that's a wonderful thing. But the this lowercase Heilkunst is what I'd call the modality of Heilkunst. We do the sequential timeline, and we look at your nutrition, and we look at this, look at that, and that's just kind of the description of the so-called modality of Heilkunst. What are the mechanics? What do you do? What is someone going to expect when they come and visit with a Heilkunst practitioner? So, oh, you're going to do your timeline, and then you're going to say, okay, that's the modality, but that's not Heilkunst. I mean, it is Heilkunst in the lowercase h way, but it's not Heilkunst in the the capital letter H way. And by that I mean, Heilkunst um, is unique, and what it makes it unique is that it's not just another modality. It's really a deep systematic set of rational principles which are applied in a certain way to go from the beginning to the end of a case, from the disease state to a complete state of cure. And I know, well, it's like, well, doesn't that make it a modality? Well, no. What I'm differentiating about that is that, I guess I could what we could say this way is that every healthcare modality, including acupuncture, including nutrition, including heart surgery, including massage, you name it, all of them, everything you ever heard of in healthcare, put all of those underneath the umbrella of Heilkunst, and now you're understanding something. Now you're understanding that the uppercase H Heilkunst is the umbrella system of science, which is what explains how all the modalities work when they work. Well, why did acupuncture help this person for this case, and why did massage help for this? It's like, well, until you know the scientific principles, you can't answer that, and 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 because you can't answer that, it means you can't repeat your successes on the one hand, and you can't avoid your failures on the other hand, because you're just, back to your phrase, Alison, you're just in the realm of trial and error, and you hope you get the winning lottery ticket, and sometimes you do, but mostly you don't. So yeah, so there we are. So in back to our question, are there any other health treatments out there at the present time that can do what Heilkunst? Well, I think it's becoming clear where I stand on this now. All of the healthcare modalities are Heilkunst, all of them. And so yeah, so can other things do what Heilkunst can do? Is like, well, again, we have to disambiguate this question. Do they mean uppercase H or lowercase h? But yeah, obviously we know the answer now. When you're working from that grand systematic rational approach, yes, the game is on. And when you're not, the lottery is on, basically. So yeah, that's basically how I would come about that question.
What a great analogy.
Hmm.
Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel
Hmm.
very blessed to be able to hang out with you.
Well, my goodness, why ditto? um, and yeah, and as we kind of lay all that out, another sister question comes into my mind, or comment sometimes people make. It's like, oh, I've tried homeopathy
Yeah.
and it didn't work. Well, that in another way, that's another nonsense question or statement, because that's kind of like saying, oh, well, I woke up this morning and gravity wasn't working, so I was floating up on the sea. It's like, well, no. Why does nobody ever say that? Why does that never happen? Because the constant laws of nature always work.
Mhm.
Today, yesterday, tomorrow, 3 o'clock this afternoon, they're constant. They don't take days off. That this is a little bit why we like robots, right? They don't take days off, and they don't call in sick, and all these other, humans are a bit unpredictable. You never know, but yeah, the laws of nature, yeah, they're just predictable. So yeah, when somebody says, oh yeah, I took this homeopathic remedy, it didn't work. Well, it's already an incorrect statement,
Mhm.
because to say that I took a homeopathic remedy has to mean I took a remedy that was of a similar energy structure as my disease, right? So the law of similars has to work there. Now, when they say it didn't, they have an experience and oh, it didn't work. Well, all that means is that the whatever they took was not similar to their disease. Or what the other error could be is, they're kind of working on a false diagnosis.
Mhm.
So it's like, they, or an allopathic condition label, like, oh, I had whatever, I had hay fever, I had seasonal allergies. Well, that's a false allopathic label, and you can't match a homeopathic remedy to a false label. People try, but
Yep.
that's when they, oh, homeopathy didn't work for my allergies. Well, no, your understanding didn't work. You didn't understand the law of cure. You didn't understand diagnosis. You didn't understand what a false, whatever. So all these things along the way. No, homeopathy didn't fail. It was just, as the expression goes, human error.
Mhm.
No proper diagnosis, no proper rational principle, so on and so on. So anyway, that was just a little bit of a footnote to our question here, but same thing. Once you understand this world of constant rational principles and laws of nature, you can't ask these questions anymore, because they just don't even make sense anymore. Now, what you can ask is, okay, well, where did I make a mistake? Did I misdiagnose a patient? We look for the human error, we look for the misunderstanding or the misinterpretation, but no, we can't declare a law of nature to be dead on any given day. So yeah, I'll move on to the next question. And this is also broken into a two-parter. So it says, I see a fair bit mentioned on the importance of having a resonant partnership and its impact on health. I'm wondering if there are people who go through Heilkunst treatment and still end up single. Part two, why would that be the case? Is it possible someone intended to be single in this lifetime? Would being single then always hinder their health? Okay, it's a pretty good question. It's got real good content to it. That's a very Halkins kind of question. Um, I guess maybe you want to jump in, Alison, but I do have kind of a first thought, and maybe I'll hand it to you from there. But this idea, one of the words they use in the question, the idea of resonance, is kind of the master principle of Heilkunst. It's the principle of giving medicine. It's the principle of giving nutrition. Respectively, we have the law of similar resonance for homeopathic remedies, the law of opposite resonance for proper nutrition. But yeah, into the spirit of this question, we have resonant relationships. A marriage, a friendship, a work relationship. Boss and a worker, or what have you. Co-workers. But the whole universe is really built on units of resonance, you could say, and not the material model that we're taught in school, that the universe is units of particles. It's like, oh yeah, there's a hydrogen part, two hydrogen particles and an oxygen particle. They go together to make water. We have this very materialistic definition of the universe, but that's actually not true. We have a resonance structure that holds the universe together. So anyway, that's my first thought. Do you have any kind of first impressions to this question, Alex?
The first thing that came to mind was when I was working with my own Heilkunst practitioner, and she asked me, "Are you in relationship?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, this is going to go a lot easier." And I actually didn't know what she meant by that, but I think it's manyfold and dynamic. Is that to be in a close resonant relationship, it tends to bring things up that are unavoidable. If I lived on my own, my life would be a whole lot easier. And that's true. You know, it would be. I would eat when I wanted to eat. I'd eat what I wanted to eat when I wanted to. I'd have my own thoughts. I'd watch whatever movie I wanted to. And yeah, I wouldn't want to do my life like that.
Hmm.
It'd be very isolating, and I wouldn't get all my shit mirrored back for me in uncomfortable ways and then work them out in partnership with somebody who truly regards and honors and has reverence and loves me,
Yes.
right? It is a beautiful container in which to evolve. The other aspect that is super critical that I find is resonant intimacy, which I wrote about in my postgraduate research piece, Unfolding the Essential Self from Rage to Orgastic Potency. And in there, I talk about what is the function of a spiritual communion between two individuals. And that is not to just discharge rage and anger for the love of all that's holy. The last 5 years, how critical has that been? But there's an aspect that you actually get to know the fabric of the universe or whatever force put us here on this weird little ridiculous planet in the first place. And to be in communion with another individual, we get to harness orgone energy in order to blast through belief systems, rage, anger, fear, resentment, guilt, all of the things that cause stasis neurosis. And that is really the function of the orgasm, as per Wilhelm Reich. And this is what I went into a study about to find out why women are so enraged. And so, yeah, circling back now, back to the question, as a function of a resonant relationship, I think that you end up having a very different experience with regards to your personal evolution.
Hmm. And as yeah, I'm listening to you very keenly. I love what you're saying here. The something else comes to my mind. I forget the exact wording, but periodically you'll see this quote cycle around on social media, and it basically says something to the effect of, um, you don't something like you don't have to learn how to love or something like that. You just need to remove all the barriers within yourself until it flows out as it naturally should, right? And I say I wish I had that quote right at my fingertips here, but I think you've seen that quote in some form. And yeah, to the spirit of this question and what we're talking about, yeah, this whole idea of resonance, of love, of what is a state of health, and what are we doing in health? Because of course, in a state of disease, all those doors to love are kind of blocked, sometimes even bolted shut and barricaded and so on, right? It's kind of a good poetic image. But yeah, the more all the barriers are removed, as through Heilkunst treatment, then in a sense, one cannot help but to to kind of have the floodgates open to love flowing in and out of their life. Now, as I say, I don't know this particular person who asked the question. I don't know their life and their situation or anything like that. I'm just speaking to the concept here. So in a sense, that's good. I wouldn't want to embarrass anybody by bringing up personal details or whatever. Fortunately, I can't in this case. But yeah, this whole idea of you not having to learn to love, but it's kind of it's the natural state of the universe. Like I said a few minutes ago, we're this isn't a universe of atoms and molecules. This is a universe of units of resonance. In other words, if there's nothing in the way, you can't what's that expression? You can't stop what's coming, or you can't stop an idea whose time has come, or something like that. But yeah, that idea is you can't stop it. Now, for practical reasons, maybe somebody they haven't, they may be ready, but they haven't met the right person yet, or whatever, all the stories people tell about how hard the dating scene and all these kinds of things. But again, once you understand resonance, you don't have to worry about the dating scene per se, but really the resonance scene. Like the resonance scene is all like we said a few minutes ago. The laws of nature are always working. The law of similars is always working. The law of gravity is always working. The law of resonance is always working. So yeah, you don't have to do any special rain dance. We finally have rain here. On this solstice day, which we desperately needed. But it's like, yeah, we were trying to do rain dance and everything else, but you don't need to do a resonance dance. I mean, you need to do Heilkunst, but you don't need to do a resonance dance, as far as opening these floodgates. So yeah, so that's a little bit of my impressions and my reaction to this. We can kind of go into more and more layers of this, but yeah, I think that really starts to open up what this question is about. And as I say, we're kind of going back and forth here, Alison. Any additional images or thoughts that you have around all this?
Yeah, I often patients, especially because I work, I would say 80% with women, will say to me, "I've not met my resonant other yet," and I always answer back, "Have you crafted him out of sand yet? Like, have you sat down and written him, or collaged him, or painted him, or fabricated your resonant other in your mind, and then watch what resistances and blockages come up as you actually craft him. And you'll find out where inside of you you're holding yourself in reserve, probably due to a trauma in the past that's unresolved, that has fear, anger, resentment, guilt, shame in a prior relationship. And when you resolve that outright on the law of cure like cures like, then the individual, when they've done the exercise of the exact resonant partner, will always report to us that they have met the individual of their dreams, because he
Yes.
is of their dreams.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And as you say all that, another thought, an image is coming to my mind. Because yeah, we're talking about the resonant other out there. Who is the partner, and where are they, and and so on. But even before that, and this of course is the first job of Heilkunst, the first job of life really, is the resonant other is within ourselves. I can't remember if we talked to any of the questions last time that got to this concept, but the human being is a double being. We're two. So here, Alice and I'm looking at the screen. It looks like two people, in the physical world, but in the spiritual world, there's actually four beings in communication right here. It's like we're half of the Brady Bunch right here, right? Um, and so yeah. So anyway, so that idea of the double, that resonant other, our first resonant other, and our constant resonant other is ourselves. And again, through Heilkunst, through increasing stages of health, that more and more and more becomes a flowing, active, dynamic relationship. It is our physiology, it's our mind, it's our, it's of course the things we do in the world. It's all these things. So I guess the image I always love to use about this, it's like those Halloween costumes of a horse or a donkey that takes two people, right? One person is in the front, two
I
legs.
will not be the ad.
I wasn't suggesting that. But yeah, just take that as an image. That's us. That's the human being. We're that donkey or that horse who has, and actually, yeah, and very much the same thing. That's that famous Da Vinci image, the Vitruvian Man. It's like that two beings, two people superimposed. You got the arms like this and the arms like this. It's like that's like an eight-legged creature, and it's kind of a strange image. Like, would the artist create that? What did it mean? And what was it for, or anything? But yeah, that's actually a true image of the human being. If you think that's more elegant than a donkey or something, but
I
it's kind
do.
of the same. But Yeah, it's like it reminds me of. Anyways, I don't have to go there, but yeah, that comedian Ismo. English is his second language, so he has that whole skit about he's different. Like when he had to learn English, one of the hardest words to learn for him was ass. Because move your ass means one thing, and getting a piece of ass means something else, and so on and so on. Oh, but anyways, here ass means something else. It's like yeah, which end of the donkey are you?
You are too fun to hang out with.
I know. Mhm. So yeah, so there we are. So let's maybe we can leave this, but yeah, it is. I say it's a super excellent question because
Mhm.
in a sense, in Heilkunst, it's kind of an endless question because we have this core principle of resonance, and we have what is resonance before, during, and after treatment, and where is resonance moving? How is it expressing itself? How is it manifesting? But yeah, we can go on and on and on into all the different topics we've kind of pointed to here. But I think maybe we'll just leave it at that because I think the main idea is out there now. But as I say, perhaps one day we'll come back and do kind of a whole lecture just on resonance and
Yeah.
how does Heilkunst define that and how does it get somebody there and all those things. But
So one quick thing I want to say before we close this topic is that before I met my resonant other, being you, I dated myself as if I was my
mm,
resident other. So I took myself out to movies and I went for faux soup on Somerset because that's what I love to do. And that's what I had imagined myself doing, walking in the woods and, being in nature. These were things that are very important to me. So I would engage in those activities on my own as if I was already in relationship with my resonant other.
yes,
Yeah, kind of a fake it till you make it deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. hmm Okay, so let me bring up the question. Is it correct to assume that syphilis is the most dangerous slash destructive of miasms? Yeah, okay, that's, I mean, the
This
first
is fun for the whole family,
one
isn't
for the whole family. Yeah, yeah. So syphilis never disappoints for entertainment. Yeah. And actually, you and I, Ali, just the other night, we watched a movie whose
it?
content was very syphilitic, and we discussed it afterwards, and it was a funny thing. Like we kind of, the few minutes in, I kind of paused the movie. I said, "Do you want to watch this?" And but both of us, we couldn't help it. It's like this is syphilis, and
Morbid
morbid
fascination.
fascination. You can't tear your eyes away. It's like another syphilitic movie is that famous Batman movie where the Joker was played by Heath Ledger,
Yeah,
and that was such a beautifully well done artistic
Andrew.
portrayal of syphilis.
Yeah.
But it's like the Joker stole the show in that movie.
Mhm.
It's called Batman, but Batman is boring. It's just like he's almost like a cardboard cutout that they stuck on the movie set, and it's like. "Oh, did he say anything in the movie? Did he say anything? It's like I don't remember if he even talked. But yeah, the Joker, you can quote back all the lines he said. But
Yeah, well
but
said.
but yeah. Anyways, yeah, this movie we saw the other night. It
You have
was
to mention the title, or you'll drive people
no.
crazy.
Here it comes the title. Well, it's a Spanish movie,
Yeah,
Argentinian, and
Wild Tales.
the English translation. Yeah, Wild Tales, and yeah, the content was very very so yeah. If you want to learn syphilis, learn the miasms, art is a great way to do it because you kind of have a safe distance between you and what's behind the screen, right? It's not like when you meet syphilis out in the world. Yeah, that's scary, and you want to run away. Get back into your car and drive away as fast as you can. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the movie is a safe way to do it. Well, then you can still be cringing in your seat. But yeah, this movie it went basically through a series of six different stories. They're not interrelated. It's not kind of weaving a plot line through all six stories, but they all had what did tie them together was this syphilis feeling. The way people saw the world, the events that happened to them, all these things kind of coming apart, and people kind of treating each other badly, like very badly in some cases. There was some degree of violence in this movie. It wasn't a terribly violent movie. There's way worse out there, but yeah, just that view of the world, of the way people think and look and see each other and see how things, and the kind of revenge people want to take, and the blaming of each other and all these kinds of things. It's in this movie. So as I say, if you want some homework, well, you have two movies now. You have this, and you have the Batman with Heath Ledger as the Joker. Yeah, and you will start to get a little bit of a grand feeling and an introduction to syphilis. So, anyways, we're talking about movies here, but let's get into the actual question. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, is syphilis the most dangerous and most destructive? Pretty much yes. I mean, we can certainly point to all the destructive elements in all the miasms, and in fact all the disease. There is no nice disease. By definition, every disease is a destruction of the human life force. So yeah, I don't want any of them. I don't want any of them inside of me. I don't want any of them in my life. But yes, to the spirit of the question, yeah, syphilis is highly, highly dangerous. It's destructive. It's deceptive.
It's
It's
insidious.
insidious. It's it's what's another word I'm trying to think of? It's disintegrative. Like it's things that just disintegrate and can't hold together. Whether somebody's psyche or something physical or what
Or the
have you.
washer and the
The
dryer.
washer and the dryer. We were talking about this the other day. We had that time in our life where every single long weekend, um, on a late on Friday afternoon, something major would bust. The washing machine or whatever, and it's like, yeah, if you call a plumber on a long weekend, yeah, you pay about 10,000 times the normal rate. So,
Oh
so
my gosh. Yeah. And the washer and dryer was like almost 15, 17 years old. I don't remember. And they died within a week of each other in June, which is the periodicity for damn syphilis.
yeah.
And so, yeah, we just rolled our eyes and said this. And we had company.
Oh
Remember?
yeah.
We had company. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just brutal. Just brutal. Mhm.
And to go back to the earlier question, so even when we were having this syphilis problem, we still had resonant friendship. So yeah, love and resonance will still find a way. So don't worry. Yeah.
My God, there's no end to the fun we can have.
There is no end. So yeah, so syphilis, yeah, highly, highly destructive and dangerous, and all these scary words. And it's like when you, as I said, you can watch a movie to be safe, but when you encounter the syphilis energy in real life, it has a really repulsive energy.
Mhm.
Like if you're healthy and sensitive, you tend to recoil when you come near that syphilis energy.
Yeah.
Right now, of
What
course,
about
when
1 hour photo, hon?
oh yeah, that's yeah. There's an old movie too. Yeah, that was with Robin
Robin Williams.
Williams, and it came out many years ago. Like
We had
something
to
like,
watch that during our clinical portion
oh yeah, you had that
of
assigned.
our program. Mhm.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah. No, that was no, that was that. I mean, that's syphilitic, but that movie also portrays very much the chthonic realm as well. That's kind of a whole other range of
Yeah,
states of
just like the
mind.
gateway,
But
or Sith is like
mhm,
the gateway to the sonic realm.
exactly. Oh
Yeah.
yes, there's your chart.
So I'll just take my chart out. We go down. Ooh, mirror. All right. So after we clear the timeline, Sora, malaria, tuberculinum, ringworm, metarhinum, carcinosin, syphilis, and then Lyme. We call syphilis the gateway to the chthonic realm, which is down here. The chthonic realm is a place of ignorance and terror, very earthly diseases. A lot of kids that are mired, pinioned in the chthonic realm have a lot of autistic tendencies. The rationale didn't get properly unfolded in that human organism. So there's not the capacity for true discernment often. So, again, just giving another aspect of Sith is that it's blame, criticism, hate, anger, judgment, just very dark. It's the dark part of emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. It's a very schizophrenic state. as well. And so, yeah, there's a lot of dangerous and destructive elements to this particular disease matrix, but it is dynamic in that it can also be the gateway to the thonic realm.
Yes. Hmm. And the other, as you say all that too, something else came to mind. Like as far as the danger part of this question, like when it comes to human behavior, and what happens in society, it's the dangerous, scary end of the spectrum of crimes, like where you get murder and all kinds of awful abuse and violation and so on. But even worse than that, it's kind of the cold-blooded version. It's people, like, what's that expression, when somebody's murdered in cold blood? We understand crimes of passion, and oh yes, somebody just was had a jealous rage or something, because somebody was holding hands with their girlfriend at the amusement park or whatever. And so yeah, we understand crimes of passion. We get overtaken. Now, obviously, we don't like that either. We don't like any kinds of murder, but it's those cold-blooded murders
Mhm.
that like just send a chill through up our spine. It's like, is that even human anymore? Or is that just like a real calculating robot that has kind of plotted out this whole intricate murder plot? And it's like, yeah, as I say, we can say, try to avoid crimes of passion and try to, oh, just settle down, just cool your jets or whatever. You try to diffuse the situation, but those cold-blooded murderers and other syphilitic crimes like that, it's like they're plotting for years in their basement this perfect
Mhm.
plan, and when they execute it, it's the most horrific thing, and you never could have seen it coming.
Yeah, well said. SIP also has a lot of physical issues, like a breakdown on every level occurs in facial structure. There can be a dismantling or disintegration on the musculoskeletal level. So it's almost like it's collapsing in on itself. There's a lot of caries and dentin issues. So in kids, we'll have, a perfectly normal, healthy kid that just ends up with a lot of pitting in their teeth. That's also very much because of a syphilitic miasm. I served a young lad, God, it's got to be close to 20 years ago. He was actually knew that he had a very finite period on the planet. He had a certain type of muscular dystrophy that no survivors beyond the ages of 20, 22. And he would watch horror movies
Hmm.
constantly. That's all he watched. And on the law of nature, like cures like, that's an attempt to cure one's horrific circumstances and terror.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah, and that's a beautiful illustration of a general principle. People kind of are drawn to certain behaviors or activities, or exposures to certain kinds of things in the world, which they don't know, but unconsciously they're driven to apply that similar to themselves. Again, that law of nature, which never takes a day off. Well, it never takes a day off, even in our unconscious mind. We're always looking for it. So yeah, so people watch horror movies. If they're trying to cure that syphilitic energy. Teenagers listen to heavy metal because that's kind of the similar energy to what's going on in their very changing minds and bodies. In that kind of state of chaos, and they're trying to make sense of their life, and all these kinds of examples.
Yeah. I'm going back and thinking of somebody we also knew about being served by a Heilkunstler that was trans and went from converting from female to male and then went through Heilkunst treatment and then wanted to convert back again. The hormone therapy and the damage done to her body is beyond recognition. And these types of cases are absolutely shattering emotionally, mentally. I can't even imagine what an individual must go through with regards to that kind of interior torture as a result of feeling that they are in the wrong body and not the right sex.
Mm.
So again, this we're in a very syphilitic Lyme age right now. It is what it is. Um, yeah, they, I know people come after me and for not being politically correct, and but that's the reality of it, is that when you start to actually dismantle or degenerate your human physiology, the the temple in which you were gifted, that things get very complicated with that particular disease matrix very
Mhm.
quickly.
Yes. Mhm. Okay, well, let's maybe we'll leave syphilis behind for now, but
Please.
yeah, obviously, yeah, it's a very big topic. Like it's yeah, it's so contemporary, it's so everywhere, it's so in our face. And again, the more you go, through your Heilkunst and clear this out, the more you become sensitive to how that syphilis is operating around you. Like before then, you're like the proverbial fish in water who doesn't even know that you're swimming in a sea of syphilis because you are too. But as soon as you poke your head up out of that sea, you're like, oh, wait a minute, all these fish around me, all the people around me, it's like, syphilis there, syphilis there. It's like, syphilis in the news. So it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, that I think that's also one of the big reasons why we were actually able to watch and enjoy that movie the other night, because we could process it, understanding the framework of syphilis that it was framed in.
Mhm.
And otherwise, like we would have still been the fish in the water, and the movie just would have upset us, and oh, why did that character do that, and that makes me feel icky and whatever. And it's like, but no, we could kind of see it from a higher consciousness, that oh, this director, for whatever he's living in his life and seeing in his society, yeah, he's kind of living in the syphilis and portraying it. That's what art does. But yeah, we in a sense we didn't we didn't really get damaged by the movie, because we knew the source and the idea of the content. So, anyways, as I keep saying, we'll leave the topic behind, but syphilis just keeps drawing you back in. It's just like that yeah, that insidious, dangerous, destructive quicksand you can't get out of. Yeah. Okay. So next question. So this is a three-parter, and okay, I'll read it out. So it says, the suffering, victim state, old beliefs, patterns, old stories that it feels like I keep looping around in. I also have an awareness that I need to step into a higher state of being. Part two, then there's resistance and discomfort. I would love to be able to embody the vibration who God created me to be, and be able to loosen my grip on the rest. I'm impatient. My heart and soul wants to reach this new height in this lifetime. Yeah, that's a super, super rich question, and it's sort of pointing at a lot of ideas and concepts in there. Alex, do you have any kind of first things that pop into your mind, or?
I'm going to let you go
Yeah,
first
yeah,
because I'm ruminating. This is, yeah, got a lot of many depths and
yeah. So yeah, I'll kind of go back up to the beginning here. But yeah, at the beginning, it starts with the suffering, victim state, old beliefs, patterns, old stories that I keep looping around in. So yeah, this, in one way or another, this is the story of disease and chronic illness, and any kind of suffering that we're prone to, is we tend to just keep looping. And kind of like I said a minute ago, it's like, when you can't see the syphilis, for example, you don't even know that you're looping in a specific thing. You just think, oh, it's one damn thing after another. Oh yeah, now I had a car accident. Now this happened. Now that. And it's like, we just think it's a long, terribly sad story. Like, we don't get the idea that it's a loop, right? It's an actual, there's a concrete pattern that's governing it. So, anyways, this is where this question opens. The past, the loop, things. The old. This is the original recycling program. It's the universe's recycling of karma program. It just keeps going round and round and round and round. But yeah, so as I say, not making fun of this person or anyone else. This is deep suffering. We all have our version of this. But yeah, this is the nature of, when we're talking about health and Heilkunst, and what is suffering, what is the starting point, what are we working with here. It's this great story of the earth consciousness, which is the story of karma and reincarnation. We do keep going round and round, and actually even back to the syphilis, back to all the miasms. It's like, yeah, we can talk about that being genetic and generational, which it is, but it's even bigger than that. It's karmic. It's like where does the structure and the energy of the Mayasins even come from in the first place? Well, it comes from this, what I just called a second ago, the original recycling program of the cosmos. It just goes round and round and round and round. So yeah, so this is where this question starts, but it certainly is a good start to the question because it points to this primary Heilkunst problem we're trying to solve is how do we get out of the old cosmic recycling program?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know people get out in all kinds of false ways, through addictions and watching TV and whatever sugar,
Mysticism.
yeah, mysticism and all the like they're just trying to find all these escape hatches, but they're false escape hatches. They're trick escape hatches.
Yeah, I think a lot about this question as I used to experience it. So I had a big abandonment loop that I just kept going over and over again. And I'm not sure how I could not have, given that my mother committed suicide when I was 8 years old and my father dropped dead of a heart attack and at the age of 17. And so my whole like karmic loop over and over again is I am abandoned. And it's only a matter of time until I will be abandoned again.
Uh-huh.
That was the only thing that I really knew was a function of relationship. So commitment was never anything that I created in the way of resonance. That didn't happen. But it was my Heilkunst physician that said to me, actually, the only individual that can abandon you is you. And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I had taken on the actual gesture of self-abandonment. And so it was showing up in my ambient over and over and over again. And I had no clue how to get out until, Heilkunst helped me go through all of those traumas of one loss after another. And by resolving the guilt, the shame, the resentment, the grief, the buckets of grief, and the anger at being left behind in this ridiculous world that we're in. And it was by treating each one of those events sequentially, just as our patients go through, that it stopped the looping. It stopped and revealed my resistances and my discomfort that I was squirming with. And as I took what I thought was external to me and really hugged it up close, realizing I was self abandoning at every turn, that meant every time I had an emotion, I was disassociated. That's the greatest form of emotional abandonment of self. It is dissociation. And I was a master because those of us that have undergone a huge amount of trauma, our survival depends on our effective means and ways of dissociating. And I was no different. So when I see it in my patients, I recognize it right away because I held the title at one point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the idea being is that, yes, I understand the impatience. I was also very impatient. I always sensed that there was another way of being, but I couldn't imagine what that would be because I was so mired in the belief structure and the terror that I was going to always be abandoned, that I didn't know how the tools of Heilkunst by removing shocks and blocks and traumas on my timeline was going to actually activate my capacity for liberty and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And self-care, ultimately self-care.
Yeah, it becomes like the way you've portrayed that. Yeah, it really becomes the person's identity and sense of self. And as you said a moment ago, I am abandonment. It's like, yeah, we give that great power of identity to something which is a false identity,
Yeah.
but we don't know that, of course, until we can get out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, this yeah. So thank you. That's a beautiful expansion on our question here, and let's go, yes, into this next part. So yeah, that's a great opening. And now in part two, the question starts with then there's resistance and discomfort. Well, resistance is one of these $1 million words in Heilkunst, that because yes, we have kind of a duality of impulses in life in general. You know, on the one hand, we want love and expansion, and we want all the good things in life. You know, we want to that is, as the old commercial said, you know, we want to reach out and touch someone, and you know, so on and so on. But we also have a counter impulse going the other direction, which is this word resistance. So it's like, you know, it's like, and I'm not saying people are liars. I'm just saying we're conflicted. You know, people, you know, they say, yeah, I want to be healthy and I want, you know, all these good things in my life, but you know, they get caught up in resistance. They can't break out of an addiction. You know, they can't stop whatever their bad food habit is, or smoking, or whatever it is. You know, that's just a manifestation, for example, of resistance. Or of course, there's many levels and examples of it. And actually, we can go back to Wilhelm Reich and his character analysis, which is actually, you know, in one way we can rename that to be resistance analysis. So he was, Reich was the master, you know, taking patients through his process, through his treatment. He didn't have homeopathic or Heilkunst remedies. He didn't know about that. And in a sense, that's good, because we got to see what happened when his genius was unleashed on the problem without these brilliant tools that we take for granted, the homeopathic remedies. But he didn't. All he had was his genius. Poor guy, right? But when you see what that genius did without the right tools, and you know how he solved this problem of resistance, it's quite an amazing sight to behold. But now, you know, he it was a very labor intensive process of therapeutics that he had to go through. But as I say, thank God this fell into the hands of a genius, because we have the solution now. We have the definition of resistance, and we have the solution. I mean, not just because we have remedies, but because we have Reich, who showed us the actual principles of what resistance is and how you have to break it down and break it apart. So yeah, as I say, his case studies, especially in that book, Character Analysis, are a true artistic form of, you know, this problem of resistance, and how, you know, how you break it down. But as I say, we all have this dual impulse, you know, towards greater health and greater love and everything else. But we also have this problem of resistance, which seems to be how the human being is structured. Of course, until we break out of it. But you know, in our normal state, no, we're kind of like trying to go in two directions at the same time, and that just creates a lot of frictions and symptoms, and you know, other life problems. The other form, what's coming to mind of where resistance comes up, are the events that happen to us in and around our life. You know, we tend to see that as external. It's like, oh, there was a car accident on the highway and I couldn't get into work on time, or whatever. You know, we see all these external events, but no, even something like that is an expression of our own resistance being projected out into the world. You know, we put those blockages out in the world so that you know, we have this resistance experience that we, you know, for whatever reason, we're compelled to create.
Yeah, well said.
Mhm. So yeah, so this is what this questioner is asking you. What about the resistance? How do I loosen the grip? And that's a beautiful phrase right there. You know, loosen the grip is kind of a great way to poetically express that idea of resistance. And I forget, what was the final part of this question? Yeah, my heart and soul wants to reach this new height in this lifetime. Yeah, so that's what we just said, is that we have, that's our ultimate impulse, is towards greater health, towards love, towards, you know, expanding who we are and being what we are and everything. But it's that at our core, but kind of wrapped under this grip, as the question said a second ago, under the grip of resistance. So yeah, that this is the battle, that the way that the human being is structured.
Yeah, well said. I think too, also just being super cognizant that the intellect loves a finite arrival point. You know, a lot of people see Heilkunst as that, oh, there's the black and white banner that I'm going to be, you know, I'm running towards. And when I finish my miasms, I'm going to burst through and break the tape, and there's going to be a great big party and all the rest of it. Wouldn't that be
Champagne cork will pop.
exactly? And, you know, for the two of us that have been at this in treatment for almost 30 years, um, I've let go of any arrival point, right? Like, it's so multi-layered and it's so multi-lived, you know, like I'm still unpacking
Mhm.
aspects of myself. And as long as I have breath in my lungs on this side of the veil, and perhaps even on the other side, I'm still going to be working this through, because I'm a dense thing, and I have many different layers that keep, you know, coming up to the surface. And I may as well just burn, you know, like we burned our bras in the 60s. Let's burn the damn black and white flag, you know, because to constantly say to myself, I'm not at the right place and I'm screwing up. And if I would just get my shit together and properly land this thing, I mean, it's a mea culpa re-engenderment of the same state of mind. Is you're not enough and you should feel guilty for not being enough. And you know, some years back, I decided to burn the lists and burn the banners and burn the arrival point and kind of embrace the essence of who I am and my struggle. The conjunction of my struggle is a form of solving the self abandonment,
Yeah.
right? And that was important for my personal evolution, is that, yeah, love and compassion. A parent doesn't say to you, for the love of all things holy, would you hurry up and start walking? And the whole diaper thing's driving me crazy. Could you just get potty trained next week? Yes, I know you're only 2.5, but come on, get up on the giddy up plan. Seriously, you're wasting time here, right? And that's the thing I think as adults we could also bring to bear to our own processes. We're complicated and multidimensional beings. And this is hard. It's super hard. And, you know, I, I wanted one thing in my life, and that was to burn the critical, judgmental hate voice inside myself that exhibited nothing but self hatred and resentment towards myself. I wanted to say, "Oh my God, you're adorable. Like, look at the mistake you just made. Oh my God, that's classic. You need to write that sucker down." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, and that's, you know, another blog post.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is like talking about the false ego and the really the burning off of the critical part of self-hatred, always saying, you know, I'm impatient, you're not where you're supposed to be. That is a form of self-abandonment.
Mhm.
And that's hurtful, you know. I wouldn't do that to a child. Why do I do that to myself?
Yes. And I love how you framed all that. It's absolutely true. You know, this main point you're talking about, that there is no finish line. You know, we're always a work in progress and evolving and going through, you know, the things we have to go through, the things we have to work on. I would add one um, other aspect to that idea. I'm not denying that, but there like in the context of Heilkunst treatment in particular, there is kind of a point where where things shift. You know, they shift from kind of this original state of conflict and resistance and disease and, you know, all these supposedly negative things that we're burdened with and we just want to get rid of. We want to get past the finish line. We kind of work through all those main things, and there's a kind of a turning point at one point where, yeah, you're correct, Allison. We don't reach a finish line, but, you know, the work continues, the evolution continues. But now it's more, you could say, from our positive destiny. as opposed to our old unfinished karma. So in a sense, we go from paying down our debt from the past to actually living forward into the future. So it's kind of a qualitative shift that happens. It's not a finish line, you're right, but it's yes, something qualitatively does come at a certain point in the treatment.
Yeah, well said. And it's just like the baby toilet trains themselves when they are ready on their own, due time. Some blockage or resistance or level of consciousness downloads, and it just happens organically. Same with walking. But we reach these milestones without any attachment anymore because it just is a function of our evolution, right? And that's the thing, as the evolution of consciousness is the other definition for Heilkunst. It happens. But if I lose attachment to being somewhere other than I am, it happens actually quicker because I'm not then part of my own problem.
Yeah.
Like I'm not providing another disease matrix of belief, of self-recrimination and judgment and self-criticism and lachesis, right?
Hmm.
It's the same as a drug. We always say busyness is someone's drug of choice. Well, if you get into the hammock and stay there for a few days, you start to see what your other resistances are. And then you grapple with them and also, resolve them. But the idea being is that I don't want to be adding to my matrix with impatience because that's just a form of a disease matrix.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, thank you. I think that's maybe a beautiful place to wrap up this question and wrap up this session. That was our, let me just double check. I think that's our last
Oh,
question
was it? Cool.
today. Yeah, and yeah, well, maybe we'll stay online for another minute or so in case anyone is typing a question or you're trying to get a last minute question in. But yeah, I do think this was a good session. It was a great follow up to what we did 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
And look, we arrived right on time.
I
And
know
we didn't even know.
we didn't know. Yeah, we didn't even know. And yeah, I've been carrying this list of questions in the back of my head for the last couple of weeks. Like, oh, well, we started this, and when will we get to finish it? But yeah, I'm glad we got to finish this right now. And we will. And same thing I always say. You could, if you're watching this as a replay, later today, later this weekend, or whenever. Same thing. You can type in your questions right underneath the video, and we will bring those forward to the next question and answer session. And or likewise, like a lot of these questions were emailed in for the session. So yeah, we're always ready and willing to kind of tackle the next set of questions. And I love it too because like it's in one way it's like, well, how many times can we talk about the same concepts? But it's sort of like we just said about the evolutionary process. The evolution of mind and consciousness and understanding something like Heilkunst, it just keeps developing and moving forward and getting new layers to it, and new like deeper explanations and deeper examples. So yeah, I even though it's the same old concepts from 25 years ago that we would have talked about, it's like yeah, I don't feel like we this was a rerun. This was yeah, very fresh to this moment and what people brought to us.
Well said. When I asked my own Heilkundler, is the objective of this system of medicine to be without symptoms? And she said no. And I was like, what do you mean no? She said it's actually when you have symptoms, you know what to do about them, right? And which jurisdiction they fall into. And I thought, wow, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. And been ruminating on that for about 25 years now. And the idea being is that, yes, to be in your true objective desire function, to actually be engaged with what it is that you love. And there's no other noise. Life gets really simple and really juicy and really fulfilling, when you have a resonant relationship and, you're doing the work that you feel called and ordained to do, that you actually operate based on principles and not on fad. it is a place of grace and reassurance. But life is simple, between Heilkunst and eating and going to the Friday night symphony and art, doing pottery. That pretty much sums up my life. Like it's distilled down into an utter state of simplicity. Maybe more complicated in the future, I don't know, but that's kind of where it is now. And so, yeah, my heart and soul wants to reach this new height. Well, in my mind, it's not doesn't feel like a height in this lifetime. It feels like a gesture of simplicity and facility and agency.
Hmm. Yes.
And some days it still sucks dirt. I was having coffee this morning by myself with the dog, and I read something on Twitter about how a man in an emergency room was checked in by the paramedic, and he was doing just fine. And he was really concerned that the iatrogenic shots had caused him harm. And they talked about this, and the paramedic said, "Actually, yes, that's what I'm seeing." And 2 days later, he was gone.
Hmm.
And it caught me unawares when I read that, and I burst into tears. Other people at the tables in here in Mexico asked me if I was okay. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I wonder what we're doing here at this time. It it's and it's like, I really, the first thing I did was I looked inside myself. I thought, boy, did you have a really heavy week in clinic, Kelly? Are you okay, darling?
Hmm.
you know and I gave myself an SOL: grief, anger, fear, guilt, shame, resentment, you know in a very high potency, because I thought, poor thing.
Yeah.
She's in this moment really struggling with the fabric of this thing called life. Yeah. And so I wouldn't call what transpired for me this morning a new height.
Right.
I would call it pain, but having facility and agency to be able to identify, diagnose, and address it.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, that's very poignant and a very true story to everything we're talking about. But yeah, let's thank our viewers and our questioners and all the the our sponsor Arnica 30C is sponsoring this. No, I but yeah, we will, as I say, you can submit your questions and we will see you again in the next session. But yeah, thank you, Ali. Thank you to everyone. And yeah, this is a real great evolving process. I'm
Yeah,
so
much
grateful for that.
appreciation to you all. This
Yeah.
wouldn't be possible if you weren't asking such delicious, poignant questions.
Hmm. Okay, well, we will see you the next time.
Adios.